Hi everyone, my name's Barbara Hayward and I'm the old girl from the Old Girl Spiritual Stuff Facebook page and YouTube channel. And for those who've been here before, welcome back and thank you for joining me again. And for those who are new to my channel, welcome, and it's really lovely to meet you, and may we meet again soon. What I'm going to do today before I start, I'm going to give some housekeeping messages, I guess you would call them. This is natural. I do not have a studio. I'm doing this in my lounge. So there may be traffic go by, which a car just did. There may be creaks in the house, all sorts of noise. I'm really praying that nobody starts their lawnmowers up. It is a Saturday. It is late morning. And I feel I could be okay because the people who do it early should have already got them done. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if I make a mistake while I'm doing this, I will not record. I will continue and we'll just have a laugh at it because that's me. I do somewhat crazy things. The other thing is, whenever I seem to do videos, my nose is itchy. A little bit like this, so I'm going to scratch my nose. Otherwise, it won't work for me. The other piece of housework that I would like to do is please subscribe. It is free, it doesn't cost you anything, which is what free means. And also, if you could press the like button, because apparently with analytics all in the background, it's really important. And it's important that we get as many people to watch these videos who are inspired spiritually. These videos are of my personal journey of 40 years and all the experiences that I've had, the lessons that I've learned, the empowerment and the awarenesses that I've had over the 40 years. Virtually nothing that I say on any of these videos you will get out of a book. They are truly unique and they're unique to me. So thank you very much for joining me today. So on my Facebook page, I had a lady, Susan, who asked me if I could do a video on my teacher, Krystal. I do mention her on the Facebook page occasionally. And if I could share with you the journey I had with Krystal, the teaching she gave me, and how she taught me, which is incredibly unique because in all the years, I've never known anybody else to teach like her. So it was a miracle I found her, which is not a miracle, we know that. And so I will introduce you to Krystal. And first off, I'm going to read out of my book. There we go. Letters from Grandma. It is printed. It's not published. I don't know how to get it out, but I am looking at how to get a Kindle made from it and how to have Kindle up on Amazon. As soon as I do that, I'll let you all know how you can obtain it. Now, this is an introduction to my actual meeting of Krystal, how that came about. Now, to get back to the story about Krystal, this book I've written, it's called Letters from Grandma. They're only letters, they're not chapters. And I am writing at that stage of my life, I only knew about one grandchild that I had. And that's a story for another day and not here today. So I was in the shower and having a real meltdown, and Spirit gave me, or God gave me, the name of the book and to write it in the first person. So that's what it's about. I was 30 at this stage and my marriage had broken up. I had met my ex-husband Gary when I was 15 and we parted when I was 30. And so I had been on my own for around maybe 9 to 10, 12 months. Now, to get back to the story about Krystal, I had met a man probably about 12 months after I separated from your pa. His name was Greg. The social group we both belonged to was having a psychic evening, and there was definitely something, and that was definitely something I was interested in. I didn't know anything about this area until I met Krystal. I loved readings. I used to read my horoscopes. I would read the, those sort of things, but I never took it on board. I never looked at it as maybe even a subject. I was very married, 2 young kids, the double-story house and the 2 cars holiday in Queensland, because I did live in Victoria at that stage. When I realised many years later that this evening significantly changed the direction of my life, I could not ever have imagined where my life was to take me, changing countries, the adventures, the success and the grand failures were the result of this uneventful evening. What was even more interesting, I was not to have another significant situation happen of this magnitude until 9th of April 2013, but more about that later. 2 tarot cards were there, and I had a reading from each of them. One of the readers' name was Krystal, and her reading was interesting, but definitely not earth-shattering. Our meeting was never to be about the reading. It was always to be about the connection of energies. I later realised that going out with Greg was only the means to get me to meet Krystal. Spirit is always placing us where we need to be, to meet the people we need to meet, to hear the things we need to hear, and it is up to us to take the lead and to follow or not. Being one with the universe, every event and experience has meaning. So it wasn't long after that. It was maybe a month after that Greg and I broke up. It wasn't, that wasn't devastating. I just met him for, a few months. And I decided to go and get a reading from Krystal. I had her business card from that evening. And so I made an appointment and I went over to her house. I lived at a place called Warrenwood, which is South Warrandyte, in just on the outskirts of Melbourne. And she lived at Eltham. So it was a distance away from me. My children at that stage, my 2 youngest children, the ones I was raising, were around 6 maybe. And so the next one would have been about 8.5. So they were both at school. I went over to Krystal's and I had the reading. And what had happened that I had recognised but I didn't understand was the night of the party, the spiritual party we went to. I had fallen, and I will say the word love in a very esoteric way here. I felt very deep and resonating with Krystal's energy. But my words at the time is I fell in love with her energies, and I had never met anything or anyone like her or her energies. So I went for a reading. I can't remember it. Again, I'm not sure if it was earth-shattering or not. But what I did realise is that I had to make up reasons to go and visit her, even if it was just for half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, because I needed that energy. I had no idea about what it meant or anything. I just know it made me feel good. And so over a period of maybe 6 months, I kept going back every month. And of course, as a reader myself, I would never, ever allow any clients to do that to me. I don't see them under 6 months, preferably every 12 months. So she put up with it. And then one day she said to me, "Look, I can't have you keep coming here. Let me do an astrology chart on you. I have an idea why you keep coming, but I need to know for sure." So she did, I went off, she did the astrology chart. She phoned me back and I went over for a session with her. And she said to me, and she read it all out and, it didn't resonate with me. Astrology is wonderful, but I don't get it. And so she said to me, your chart is really interesting, Barb, because you've got 6 spiritual or psychic gifts, if you like, spiritual gifts in your chart, which is a really unusual amount. And so you could go in 6 different directions spiritually. Well, at that stage, I had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. I didn't know anybody that lived in the spiritual world. I didn't know anybody personally who was a clairvoyant, psychic, whatever. So this was new to me. Now, I knew that I was different because people had said to me, how do you know this? How do you know that? And to me, it's just simple. It drops into my head. I say what I say, and they go, oh my God, how did you know that? And I go, well, everybody knows that. And that's how I defined it for 30 years, or at this stage, 31 years. So in amongst that, and we had a tea or coffee, I have an idea it might have been a wine, knowing Krystal. And yes, it was a wine. They just showed me the picture. And so after the discussion we had, she said to me, I'm going to take you on as your teacher. So you become my student. Now, I need to give you some fair warnings. There's some ground rules here. The first thing I need to tell you is that while I'm your teacher, I do not have any other students. I only ever have one student at a time. And at this stage, that is you. I will teach you until I don't teach you. I will tell you when our relationship as teacher-student is finished, and that's the way it will be. Now, the other ground rules she said to me, and they would not even be tolerated back then, let alone today. But she said to me, there are some certain ground rules. And one of them is that you will never, ever question anything I say. If I tell you to do something, you will do it. You will not question me. You will just say yes, and you will do it to the letter. No arguments. If you do, I will walk. And that's a fact. I will walk. She's an Aries like me. I think she was on the 6th of April, and of course, I'm the 8th of April. She said to me, while you're with me now, you will not give a clairvoyant message. You will not touch a tarot pack. You will not touch oracle. Mind you, we didn't really have oracle cards back then. You will not do a healing. You will do none of that work while you're working with me until I tell you to do that, till I tell you you can. And so I had heard that I can't question her, so I'm not going to ask her why. I just know that's it's part of the rules. And I was not to answer her back. She had the wisdom, she had the knowledge. I'm there as a student, not as the teacher. And she will teach me in her way of teaching me, because she understands the bigger picture that I don't understand. And if I can adhere to these rules, we'll get on well. Well, I will tell you that there was a state, it was maybe 3 years into our relationship, but I did question her. And I only ever did it once. I only ever did it once. I learned the hard way. But, you know, a good Aries, the bull in the china shop, we have to do that. And I did learn. Now, these were some of the things that she said to me. And remember, this is her teachings to me. This is not anybody else's teachings. And I will say that this video is for entertainment only. There is no scientific proof behind anything. It is just my experiences. One of the things she said over a small amount of time was, if they don't ask, don't tell. Now, I do understand a lot of people think that if they get a message from Spirit, then they've got to give it to the person because they got it. Well, my teacher, Krystal, said, if they don't ask, you don't tell. I said, okay. She said, when you come to my house, Barb, do you have to knock on the door or can you walk straight in? I said, no, out of respect, I knock on the door. It doesn't matter how friendly we are. I knock on the door and you invite me in. And she said, exactly. Exactly. If they don't ask, don't tell. Now, if they ask, you're more than welcome to tell them whatever you like. Not yet, but they're the ground rules. The other thing, and I remember going to see her, and it was very early in the teacher-student time, And she said to me, if you can formulate the question, I'll give you the answer. If you can't formulate a question, then no amount of me giving you the answer are you going to understand it. So if you can formulate the question, then I will tell you the answer. Wow, that was just like winning Tats Lotto. I, as an Aries, am a little bit on the lazy side, and I'm thinking, this is amazing. I've got this woman of 60 who is going to give me everything I need. She's going to just share it with me. She's going to give it all. She loves me. I'm her favourite student, you know, the favourite student. I know I'm the only student. So I just thought that was the best thing. It's sort of like the shortcut to the spiritual knowledge. So I cannot tell you the question I asked. I really can't. But by golly gosh, I do know the answer I got. And I remember I asked the question, and she leaned over and she goes, you know what, Barb? Now that is a really good question. I like that question. That's very thoughtful. Good question. Now, what I want you to do is, now that you've asked me the question, you've already asked the universe, I want you to go out into life, keep your eyes and your ears open, look for signs, look for evidence, and then life will give you the answer to that. And when you've got to come back and we'll talk about it. That was it. You wanted to know how Krystal taught me? What she taught me? That is how she taught me. Good question, Barb. Now go out into the universe. Ask the universe, keep your eyes and your ears open, listen to your intuition, listen to your gut feeling, be inspired, look for the signs. What is nature telling you? The answers are there. You just need to find them. And in the 8 years that I was with Krystal, 8-9 years, I think we sat down about 5 times where she just simply answered me. I was not happy. I was not a happy little Jack, let me tell you, because I had no idea what I was doing. And yet that's what she kept telling me. And I will say that we only ever, you know, there is a spiritual saying, we only see things as, we never see things as they are, only as we are. Now, one of the things that I've learned over the decades is, as your awareness, your vibration rises, then the depth of the answer of the question you give is going to be there. Now, back in the, and I'll explain that a little bit later, or not, another video, who knows. Another thing she said right at the beginning was, now I want you, Barb, to tell me who God is to you. Who's God? Tell me who God is. Define God to me. Well, I was not religious, but nor were my parents. I went to Sunday school when I was little, youngish, but I would say that we had we believed in God, and so I said to her, okay, my belief in God is the man in the throne in the sky with the hell and brimstone, and judging and we need to ask for forgiveness, and he's all seeing, and anything we do wrong, he'll know about. And so she said to me, okay, and that is how you see God? And I said, yes, it is. And she said, I want you to remember today. I want you to remember that definition you gave me. Now, it's not for me to say it's right or wrong. This is your definition. This is your belief. But what I want you to do is, over the next decade, is revisit that question. Revisit it and see how your understanding of who God is changes. Or if it doesn't change, It may not change. But if it does change, then be aware of where you started. You started here, and now you've moved to here, or you moved over to here. Because as I grow spiritually in the vibration of spirit awareness, of the oneness of all things, then so do my understanding of things grow and develop. Or better, maybe it's better put, it grows deeper. Okay, so that, and I hope not to offend anybody here. If you're offended, then maybe this is not for you. But what I realized over the years is that definition I have of God is a very shallow definition. It is the definition that I was told as a young person by society, by religion, by all things, and I never questioned it. And so that's why I call it shallow. It's very surface. There's no depth to it. There's no thinking about it. It's just who God is this, and that's it. I have to figure out the love of God and the oneness and things like that. But that's the definition. And there are a lot of people who that is God and that remains God forever, and bless them. But in my awareness, the deeper I went into the spiritual understanding and awareness, and the deeper my vibration grew and expanded, then that understanding changes as well. And to give an example of that, it was probably 15 years later from that very time. I was living in New Zealand, and I was going to a church, a spiritualist church in Stratford, and I think it was the invocation, the prayer that we did, and we talk about God's unconditional love for us and his forgiveness that he shares so freely with us. And all of a sudden, something hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm holding Dennis's hand. We did that back then. We do it occasionally now. And I just about squeezed his hand tight, and he goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "Remind me to talk to you later." And I just saw something that I had not seen before because I wasn't ready to see. And afterwards, on the driving home, we had, about 50 Ks to drive home. I said, you know what was really interesting is that God's unconditional love and his forgiveness. Now, the question I want to pose is, if you have unconditional love, where is forgiveness? What are you forgiving? Unconditional means without conditions. If there is no conditions, there is no judgment. And if there's no judgment, there's nothing to forgive. And I was really taken by that. That may take you a while to figure out. You may fully disagree with me. And that is okay, and I have no issues with that at all. I'm telling you my story. And so I really worked within that, and that was just such a quandary for me. Unconditional love and forgiveness. And so I had to figure it out, and this is my little monkey mind, and this is the little creative side of Aries. So I said to Den, you know what I reckon? We've got good cop, bad cop. So the good cop is God. God loves us unconditionally. And so bad cop is karma. So create a karma, which is going to get us back for everything we do, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. And so everything that we do wrong is going to be taken care of one way or another at some stage through karma. And so God can love us unconditionally because the other part's done. Very naive, but it works for me. And so when we had this big discussion, I then took myself back to when I was with Krystal. I often, 40 years later, I still take myself back to conversations that we had. And I understood that the man on the throne with hell and brimstone didn't exist anymore in my mind. So now I had to go in and re-investigate who God is to me today. Remember, this was 25 years ago now. And so there are periods of time, maybe every 10 years or 5 or whatever, that I get an opportunity to go back and measure where I am now through the belief of who is God. And that's what she wanted me to do. She wanted me to go back and over time and just see how much I've grown in my awareness, in my energy level, in my spiritual awareness, in my enlightenment, whatever you want to call it. That's just one example that in the living world of working with Krystal. Now, another, as I said before, another of her rules was never question me and do as I say. Don't answer me back. Let me take that one first. Don't answer me back. Well, I was really indignant. How dare she think that she is the answer to all things? You know what I mean? Ego, ego, ego. Now I'm having a sip of water. How dare she? Because we love that word ego, don't we? Oh my God, it's so full of ego. They're so full of ego. Well, if you can see their ego, your ego, you know, another video, another day. So what happened when she walked away from me? I had a business at that stage, and she would travel by train. She didn't drive, and she would get off at the station, come Thursday morning, have a cup of coffee with me for an hour, and then off she'd go. She used to teach Tai Chi, and then she'd go home. Well, this particular day, I had a staff member work for me, and his name was Leo. And she said, sack him. Sack who? Sack Leo. I said, oh, I don't think so. He's good, you know, he's good. He's a good worker. She said, sack him. I said, I'm not sacking him, Krystal. I'm not. Oh, she put a cup down, she got up, and she said, you questioned me. You only get one chance, and you've had it. Do not phone me until you've sacked him. And off she goes. Wow, I was in tears because I just love this woman and I've upset this woman. But how dare she tell me how to run my business, for goodness sake? How dare she? Nothing wrong with him. So I was indignant. The next week I rang her and I said, oh, hi, Krystal. She said, oh, hello, Krystal here. I said, oh, hi, Krystal, it's Barb. She said, have you sacked him? I said, no. She hung up. She hung up. She did this for about 4 weeks. Every week I'd phone her because she wouldn't come on a Thursday. She wouldn't come for coffee. She meant it. She was angry at me. And so I had a switchboard at that stage, and I had 4 numbers here and 4 numbers here. And these other 4 numbers really were for us to ring out on. They had their own individual numbers under the umbrella of the one number. So if somebody rang and this line was engaged, it'd go to the next line, the next line, next line. These were for, but they all, you know, phoning out. I was sitting at work early one morning and the phone rang, but it was in the second block of numbers. I'm going, that's weird. And so I picked it up and I said, hello. And the person on the other end said, hello, hello. Leo, is that you, Leo? I said, hello, hello. For some reason, neither of us could hear the other person. I could hear her. I called her Buddha. maybe not spiritual, but I'm Buddha now. I called her Buddha. And I'm going, what is she phoning Leo for? She's my opposition. And I kept saying hello. And she'd go, Leo, are you there? Are you there, Leo? And it hit me. It hit me. He was working for her in my business. He was giving her all my information. He came to work, he was sacked, he'd gone. I ring up Krystal and she goes, Krystal speaking. I go, Krystal, it's Barb. He's gone. Are you happy? And she goes, well, yes, I am. And I've missed you. Now come over tonight. So our relationship went back. Could she have just told me about what she saw? Sure, she could have done that. But remember, she said to me, don't question me. Don't question me. And I didn't understand that for years. I just thought, you know, in my mind, she was perfect with a few idiosyncrasies and maybe a little, I thought she had a bit of ego and that sort of stuff. Only a little bit. I was definitely not going to mention it out loud. Okay, so what was she really doing? What was she really doing? Have you ever been driving or doing something and your intuition tells you to stop now? Stop now. Let's say you're driving and your gut feeling, intuition, sixth sense, my people, which is what I call them, they say, stop the car right now. And you go, why? I mean, everything's fine. And they go, stop now. And you keep driving and more than likely you're going to end up in an accident. You see, if you'd listened in the first place to your gut feeling and not question it, don't question it, then I would have been safe. That has happened to me. And I'm sure it's happened to others. What she was trying to get me to understand, for me to discover the awareness, not for her to tell me what it was about, but for me to discover. You know, there is a saying, if you say something, you'll forget. If you write it down, you'll remember. If you do it, you know it. Okay. She wanted me to have the experiences so I get to know, not the knowing of the heart. But that took me a long time to figure that one out. And the more I let go of my ego, the more I let go of the way it should be, the way it could be, the way it must be, I then can see clearer what the bigger picture is, what the message on a bigger scale was. So it wasn't her saying to me, I'm better than you, I know more than you, you will listen to me, you'll do as I say, and you're just going to be a puppy dog. It was not that at all. She wanted a thing called trust. She wanted me to trust her. And when she was emphatic about something she was telling me, she wanted me to trust her. Now, I want us to go back in time a little bit, around the time that we talked about God. So I said to her around that time, so what is all this about? Why am I going out to do all this stuff? She said, Barb, I do not want you to do a clairvoyant reading, a tarot reading, a healing until I tell you you're ready. I said, why? I was allowed to ask her why. She said, because I want you to spend the time with your relationship with God. There's two things I want you to do here. The first one is your relationship with God. It has to be solid. You have to get this oneness with God going. And secondary, and the same amount, is you have to get to know your people in spirit, your guides, your helpers. You've got to get to know them. They've got to get to know you, because you'll be working in partnership for the rest of your life. And if you don't understand them, if you don't know them, now she's not asking me to know their names, what they look like. I have no idea. Most people who come to me who want their guides, I want names and things, and my guides will go, oh, what lifetime do they want, for goodness sake? I have no idea who mine are. I know their energy. And what she wanted us to have a relationship, because when you form a partnership, you've got to rely on each other. You trust each other. You know each other inside and out. And as you do after a period of time, and certainly I do with my husband after 31 years. But it was about this. And they needed to know that when they were ready to work, with me, I was going to be present. And that they could rely on me and depend on me, and they could respect me for that. And on my point of view, they need to know that that I need to know that when the client is in front of me or something happens, that I know that my people are going to be there, and there is no question. That's the relationship. That's what she wanted me to learn. And that takes time to mature and to get to know. Now, in New Zealand, many, many years ago, there's a brand of cheese over here. I will say the name, Mainland cheese. Beautiful. New Zealand has beautiful cheese. And it's green, the green country, the green grass. So there's these two guys, these two jokers. They've obviously been friends for a while. They're probably in their 80s. And they're fishing, and they did a lot of them, but this particular one. And they're throwing in the line to fish. And one says to the other, how long have we known each other? And he goes, 50 years, I think. He said, yeah, well, you can't rush friendship, can you? Okay. You can't rush. Something that has to be solid and lockable cannot be rushed. And she said to me, when you have those two things working, your clairvoyance, your healing, everything is automatic, because it all comes from the oneness. It all comes from the energy of the universe. That's where it all is. And so when you get your connection to your people, spirit guides, whatever you like to call them, I call them my people. When you get that connection, it is automatic. It's automatic. You don't have to go train to do it and do all this sort of thing. It is automatic, because you raise your vibration in spiritual awareness to where all things exist of spirit. And that's where our people talk to us from spirit, where we get our messages from. And so she wanted me to spend the time doing that. Now, part of that exercise of getting to know them was getting to know the world. And so she'd say, go and talk to nature. Go and talk to nature. Nature will hand you the answer. And so simple things like, if you want to weed the garden, go out the night before and talk to the weeds. Just talk to them. In your mind, out loud, doesn't matter. Thank them for being there. Thank them for bringing nutrients into the soil to help the flowers grow. But it is time tomorrow for me to weed you out of the garden. Would you mind giving up your root system so it makes it easier for my back? You go out there and you thank them for that. You go out the next day and you go pluck, 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 pluck. It's easy. Go out the night before and say to the flowers, you are so beautiful. I love you in the garden. Would you mind if I cut you tomorrow to bring you into the house and bring your glory into our living environment? You are so beautiful. and they will last longer. It is talking, it is showing appreciation, it is showing gratitude, because all things are one. All things are one. There is a couple of stories that I will tell in another video about me talking to the grandfather pine tree in winter in New Zealand. It's a fascinating story. And even now, and that's got to be 30 odd years ago that happened. And even now I just shake my head. It's just incredible. Maybe I was with Krystal more than 8 years. I'm just thinking maybe it was about 12. Oh, that's a revelation. When I look back over the time with Krystal, the harshness, I hated it. I hated it. I had no direction. I had no instructions. It was not step 1, step 2, step 3, because this spiritual awareness is a very personal journey. It's different to everybody. It's what you've come down to learn, which is different from me to you, to them. It is very different. Have you noticed this here? When I work spiritually, that gets deeper. And so when I look back at my naivety, my narcissistic ways of thinking, my entitlement, my being equal to her. Now, I'm not saying we're not equal. In humanness, we're equal, but she knows more than me. How can we be equal? You know? What she taught me was really invaluable. She wanted me, the other thing she said to me right back when, she said to me, when I questioned her as to why can't I do readings now and why do I have to wait until she tells me I can, she said, it's like this, Barb. When you build a house, you've got to, the thing you must spend time on, and it's a bit different today, but I'm going back then, where when you build a house, you would put the foundations down, and they had to be sitting so they could cure for about 2 months. And so then the house started to be built. So to build a house would take anywhere between 3 and 6 months back then, when it's very quick today. Different cement, different ways. But she'd say to me, when you're building a house, the most important part of building a house is to get your foundations solid. They have to be immovable. They have to be completely solid. Because if they're solid, you can build whatever size house you like on it. A mansion, 6, 8 stories, 1 story makes no difference. It will stay up. But if your foundations are on shifting sand, on no foundation or solid foundation, doesn't matter what size house you build, you will eventually fall over. It will break down. It will crack. That's what she was trying to tell me. I didn't understand it. Why didn't I? Because I didn't experience it. She didn't want to be a school teacher where you sit and you take notes and she tells you and you regurgitate the answer. She knew my history. She knew my future. She knew all the things that the spirit in the spiritual world that I was going to undertake from there on. It was in my astrology chart. You know the bits she didn't tell me? Thank goodness she didn't tell me. So in that 5 years, being the cocky little Aries, and I'm an 8th of April, so I'm an 8th day born. I was born in 1953, so I've got a 5 and a 3 at the end, so that's an 8. And I'm a 30/3, so 8/4/1953. I'm a 30/3, so go figure all that out. I would say to her, I'm ready now. She'd go, no, you're not. Your foundations are not solid. Go back, go back, go back, go back, go back. Then one day she said, you can now start your clairvoyance. You can start giving readings and healings. And can I tell you, that was 5 years after the astrology chart meeting I had with her. 5 years. Would you do that today? I don't know anybody that would have done it back then except me. Thank God I did. I had no idea what was coming up. I had my own radio station program for 3 years as resident clairvoyant in New Plymouth. We had between 25 and 35,000 listeners per fortnight. In that 3 years, we did something like, I think it was about 2,000 phone calls. We did about 4,000 messages in that time. It was bang, 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 bang. We would do 20 to 25 calls in about 50 minutes, list the ads and list the hello, how are you, that sort of thing. The amount of radio shows that I've done clairvoyantly in New Zealand and Australia, and all the things that I've done, that has held me in good stead. Get your foundation solid, Barb. Build your house. Don't start your house until the foundation. She needed me to have the experiences, to have the knowing, to have the awarenesses from the lessons I needed to learn. Otherwise, I would just be regurgitating her knowledge. It wouldn't become mine. Now, over the years, I've had people ask me to be their teacher, and I go, you're not going to like me. You know, you won't like me. I'm not a good teacher. I'm a good teacher at law of attraction, but I'm not a good teacher at this stuff. And they go, no, yes, you are. You've got all this knowledge. Yes, I do. I've got an immense amount of knowledge. But you're not going to like me. And they go, yeah, take me on. So I go, well, okay, it's up to you. And they last a day because my rules are the same rules as Krystal's, because I fully comprehend and understand the importance of build your foundations before you build your house. Don't answer me back because you're in training to listen to your higher self, to listen to that gut feeling. When it says stop, you stop. Don't question it. That's what she was getting me to do. She said to me, ask me a question, I'll give you the answer. Formulated the question, she'd go out and ask. If she had not done that, I would not have asked grandfather pine tree what I had to ask. I would not have heard the ocean tell me why our soul and our spirit is so important to us over, you know, all the seasons and the different personalities of the ocean. I wouldn't have been able to go and talk to the flowers and the trees when they're uprooted. My eldest granddaughter in New Zealand, she wants me to teach her, and one day I will. But they were having trouble removing a tree in their backyard that they had planted, and wasn't fully matured, but it was certainly built, and it wasn't giving up its roots. So I said to my daughter-in-law, I said, would you mind if I have a shot at this? I'll do my mumbo jumbo shit. And she goes, go for it, you know. And I said to my eldest granddaughter, who I will not name, and I said, come with me, Grandma, and I want you to sit with me because we're going to talk to the tree. So I sat there and everybody went inside, which is what I asked. And I said, I thanked the tree for the beauty, for the shade that it had while it was in the position that it was. However, there is a better position for this tree, that the family would like this backyard without a tree in the middle. Now, would you mind pulling your roots up, please? They're having difficulty getting you out of the ground. I don't want you to be harmed. I want your root system to be complete so that we can move you out the front to be with all the other trees, so you've got companionship day and night. Here it must be quite lonely being on your own. Is that possible? Could you do that? And would that be possible by tomorrow morning, please? And so with that, my granddaughter and I said a little prayer and we said thank you, and off we trot. And I said to my daughter-in-law, I went over there about a week later and I said, oh, the tree's gone. What's happening? And it was just out of the ground. And she said, you know, Barb, I don't know what you did, but whatever you did, it just came out. I had struggled for a week to try and get it out. Thought I was going to have to cut the roots. I said, I just asked, would it mind that there was a better place for it? And so then I said to my granddaughter, I said, where are you going to plant it? And my daughter-in-law had told me where she was. And I went out there and they had put it in, and it was a little bit jaded. And I said, okay, granddaughter, grab our plastic chairs and let's go and welcome the tree back into its new spot. And so we had a prayer over it, and I thanked the tree for releasing its roots and to making the job so much easier for everyone. And I hope that it didn't create too much pain. I knew it created a bit of pain. And I said, have they welcomed you? Have all these beautiful trees welcomed you? Can you now please replant your roots? And this is your home. You've got companionship. You've got love. You've got, you know, a mum and dad tree here that are bigger than you. And they will show you how to grow and expand beautifully. And so then we did a prayer after it, and that tree today is surviving incredibly well. Had I have not gone out and kept my eyes and ears open, I wouldn't know a million things like this. That's why I know it, because I had to hear. You know, when I in Mount Maunganui, I was on the balcony and overlooking the ocean, you know, a couple of houses back, but I could see the ocean. I had to hear what the ocean was telling me about the different seasons and the different personalities and why, what holds water together, what gives the water personality, what creates the depth and the colour of the water. But I had to do that over 4 seasons. And had she have not said to me, keep your eyes and ears open and hear what the universe has to say. Listen. Put your beliefs to one side. Put your interpretations to one side. Put away what should be, what could be, what must be, what might be. And just hear. They will tell you everything. Everything you need to know. That's Krystal. That's my Krystal. So it was about 8 years later, 12 as I've just recognised. I'm sorry that this is the long video. Oh, I've got tears. I was in New Zealand, and yeah, I'll end off on that one, but I just want to read this. I was in New Zealand and I went and visited Krystal, because at this stage I would phone her about issues and things. And I went to see her and she said to me, I am no longer your student. Sorry, I'm no longer your teacher. But that was a sad day. And because I think I only saw Krystal 2 or 3 times after that. This is her belief, and this is what she did. True teachers are those who use themselves as a bridge over which they invite their students to cross. Then, having facilitated their crossing, joyfully collapse, encouraging them to create their own. Now, that's out of a Dan Millman book, and that is Nikos Kavazansky, something like that. I love this spiritual world. I adore the law of attraction, so I'll be teaching a lot about that, talking a lot about that. I obviously have been working in this field for over 70 years or maybe not when I was 1, but let's say 65 years. After I met Krystal and we had this relationship and life unfolded, the first 30 years of my life made sense to me. But before that, I thought I was insane. And so I hope you enjoy the journey with Krystal. I hope you understand me a little bit better, understand part of the journey that she took me on, the way she taught me, the learnings, the teachings that came out of that. I had my own learnings and teachings after that, but she did teach me how to hear, how to listen, how to stop when I'm being told to stop. Don't ask questions, do as you're told. Get your foundation solid. Don't ask, though, you don't tell. So I would like to give you this wisdom, and again, it's out of my book on page 121. Your life is your practice. Your spiritual practice does not occur someplace other than in your life right now. And your life is nowhere other than where you are right now. You are looking for answers, insight, and wisdom that you already possess. Live the life in front of you. Be the life you are and see what you find out for yourself. Karen Miller. You see, my whole life, I live the spiritual life. I swear, I drink, I cuss badly, and I love cussing. I absolutely adore cussing. That's the Aussie girl in me. But I understand the depth of everybody. I don't have to prove a thing to you. You don't have to prove a thing to me. Am I spiritual? It's none of your business. I know I'm spiritual. You either resonate with my energy or you don't. But the moment you judge me, you have an opinion or you have a belief that I'm right or wrong, that is yours, not mine. So so thank you, Susan, for asking me to tell you about Krystal and who she is and was in my world and how we came together and the teachings that we had. So until next time, thank you very much. It's been a long journey. I hope it's been interesting enough for you to stay with me right through to the end. And until next time, God bless. Be safe, be kind to yourself, and don't forget to breathe. Good night. This is the crazy part. I now have to do this with panels and gracefulness. And I don't know how to do it. I'm here trying to now set the recording to stop. And so goodbye.